What's up guys, Wayne back here with you. So I've been speaking with a lot of people recently who all seem like they're in a very similar situation. Maybe you've played, once or twice, before, but maybe you haven't played at all. So these are going to be 5 tips for beginning PLO players. Now these are tips that, still apply to more experienced players, but in particular, they're going to help you out if you're just looking to kind of dive into the game. All right guys, rule number 1, probably the most important, is tight is right. Now I've mentioned this to you a lot in the comments, but people play way too many hands in live PLO. Especially rec players, Joe the plumber and Bill the electrician, they don't really care what you have. Even if you're someone like me, especially my earlier videos that plays, one hand every 3 hours, they don't care. If they like their hand, they're gonna call. So because of this, you're gonna go into many multi-way pots. You're gonna go into 3, 4, 5, 6-way pots where you have to have a hand that's gonna be able to dominate all these other opponents' hands, all these other random cards. So your 3 main components of hands are going to be high cards, suited, and connected. Now if your hand doesn't have at least 2 of the 3 of these components, it's probably not worth playing. Now aces obviously is going to be the exception, but besides that, you really want to have at least 2 of these 3 components. If your hand is rainbow, you really want to have all high cards in your hand, and having all high cards is also going to make your hand connected. Because you can't make a flush, you really want to be able to make straights, and not only straights but nut straights that are going to dominate other players' straights. If your hand only has 1 suit, you really prefer it to be the nut suit. To give you an example, a hand like ace 8, 7, 6, I'll really only play it if it's suited to the ace. That's going to allow you to dominate other people's flushes. Really king and queen high flushes. These are going to be hands that are going to get you in a lot of trouble, especially when starting out. So single suited, you definitely prefer the nut suit, although there is obviously some Broadway hands that have king and queen high suits that are also playable. Alright, so if your hand doesn't have any high cards, you really want the other 2 components to be on point. So for example, I'd probably make the cutoff like a 10 high rundown. So 10, 9, 8, 7, you really want it to be double suited. You prefer no gaps. If it is going to have a gap, you really prefer the gap to be on the bottom. So a hand such as 10, 9, 8, 6 is going to be much stronger than say 10, 8, 7, 6. That hand 10, 8, 7, 6, it's really going to get you in a lot of trouble where, let's say on like a Jack 9, 2 flop, you obviously flop a wrap, but somebody that has King, Queen, 10 really puts you in a bad situation. So, the gap, you prefer it to be on the bottom if there is one. Alright, so if your hand is not connected, you really want the other 2 components to be very strong. So let's say such as a hand as ace, king, 8, 7, you would really prefer it to be double suited. And not only that, you would prefer the ace and the king to be different suits. Because if you have ace, king of spades and 8, 7 of diamonds, that 8 high suit, obviously besides the very small chance you're going to make a straight flush, once in a lifetime, the 8 high suit's really not going to give you much value. So you prefer, if you can't make straights, you want to have, high cards, so an ace and a king at least 2, and you want to have, 2 good suits. Alright, rule number 2 is play shorter sessions. Now if you watched some of my earlier videos, you saw that I really only stuck to 4 hours max, and the reason I do this is because 1, it's going to make your decisions very easy. So if you're sticking to rule number 1 and then you're sticking to rule number 2 here, playing shorter sessions, your decisions are going to be very easy. If you're only playing pretty much aces, kings, high rundowns, you're gonna be able to flop pretty strong in a lot of situations, and the SPR, the stack to pot ratio, is going to be low enough that your decision's pretty much clear cut. You get to the flop against a couple opponents, you're just going to push it in, and if you take it down, great. If not, you're going to be in a good situation to double up. So really, you want to play these shorter sessions and make your decisions easier. But 2, a lot of people have told me that they want to start PLO, but it's a little tough with their bankroll situation to get started. So playing shorter sessions is going to allow you to build your roll, but also not hit and run, which obviously is not going to make you too many friends along with the regular players in your game. So, maybe start out with 3-4 hour sessions like I did. You stick to these, really super premium hands, and your decisions are just very clear cut and easy. Alright guys, point number 3 is take great notes. Now taking great notes is really going to allow you to do 3 things. Biggest one is it's going to allow you to go back and improve upon your mistakes. I've made plenty of mistakes, I still make plenty of mistakes now, but especially when I was starting out, I would play way too wide, which is pretty much the most common leak that everyone falls into. I would get tilted pretty easily, which is another reason why I played shorter. But you really want to take great notes. I'm going to put my notes up on the screen here just to give you kind of an idea. I also include timestamps. Now, the timestamps are going to help you plug leaks, which is really the second benefit of taking notes. So let's say, for example, you kind of start out usually kind of burying yourself in a hole, which is what I do sometimes. That's usually an indication you're playing too wide, or maybe if you're kind of playing earlier in the day like me, maybe you're not fully awake when you show up at the casino. Or let's say another situation where you maybe peak at like hour 2, but then hour 3 and 4 is just kind of when you give back a lot of your money. Maybe you're just not really prepared to play these like 3 and 4 hour sessions. Maybe you start with 2-hour sessions, just to kind of get used to it and slowly improve your time, which is what I've done. I'm now at kind of 5, 6, 7-hour sessions, but I started playing, 3-4 hours. Then once that became easy for me, it was an easy transition for me to kind of move up to these 5, 6, 7-hour sessions. Another benefit of taking great notes is being able to get feedback from others. In the moment, you might say, oh, okay, I got my money in with enough flush draw, but do you know your stack size? Did you know the opponent's stack size? What position were you? How much was in the pot? These are all things that, the better notes you take, the better you're gonna be able to explain this to someone else who is going to be able to give you some really good feedback. That leads me into point number 4, which is have an accountability partner. Now, if you don't have one of these people in your life, then definitely reach out to me on Instagram, or you leave me a comment below, and I'll definitely either help you out myself or pair you up with someone that can help you. Starting out for me, when I started playing in 2017 up in LA at Commerce, I had my good friend Mark, who still plays to this day, but we were really coming up in PLO at the same time. So it was really helpful to have him just to kind of shoot a text to and say, hey, I got my money in with top 2 pair here, what do you think? And he was really able to tell me that I was playing too wide. Also, he was able to tell me that maybe my mental game wasn't where it really needed to be. As sometimes I would make a comment to an opponent who say they would call me all in on the turn with a gut shot and hit on the river. Me berating my opponents, that was something that I kind of had to learn not to do. And he really helped me out with that. So again, if you don't have those people, reach out to me and we'll get one for you. Another point here I wanted to make, it probably goes more so with point number 3, but also with point number 4, is you should really be using some kind of poker tracking software. So I use Run Good, which I believe it's a $17 or $18 one-time fee, but it tracks my hourly, it tracks the locations I play, it actually even gives you like a little chart which tells you how many hours you played versus your profit. But if you don't want to use an app, you can even just use Microsoft Excel. That would really just help you be able to kind of go back and see maybe what day of the week you do best, or maybe what's your sweet spot in terms of what is the best time of day for you to play, things like that. So either use an app or use your Excel just to track your sessions. All right, guys, point number 5, a very important one, work on your mental game. So I had mentioned that previously I would berate my opponents if they made a bad decision and got lucky on me. Obviously, that was a pretty good indication to me and to my friend Mark that my mental game was not where it needed to be to really take the next step in my game. So, on a basic level, what I'll do now is, let's say I play a 6-hour session now. Every hour to hour and a half, I'll literally just take a break, usually after my button, and I'll just take a lap around my casino. The casino is actually connected to a hotel, so it probably takes me about 3 or 4 minutes just to, take a quick lap, and that just allows me to kind of hit the reset button, hit the pause button on my session. I can take notes, kind of see where I'm at, and just take a quick mental break. We all need that. Especially off the table, you definitely have to kind of balance that as well. So for me, I like working out, I like hiking. Maybe for you, you're a painter, you like doing that. Whatever it is for you, definitely make sure off the table you're also taking care of your mind, because PLO is really going to test your capabilities unlike any other game. So definitely make sure you're taking care of that. To take that a step further, if you're someone that you really need some help with tilt control, I definitely recommend meditating. I meditate about 2 to 3 times a week. It's definitely helped me in terms of poker, but also it's helped me with sleep and different aspects of my life. Another thing too that I did when I was starting out is I read The Mental Game of Poker Really great book, especially if you're one of those people that maybe tilts very easily and tends to, kind of blow a bunch of money after that point. I would definitely recommend reading that book. All right, guys, bonus tip here is find a great game. So game selection is going to be key. Now, obviously, if you live in certain parts of the country where maybe you can't really even get PLO, or if you get it, it's like one day a week, then obviously you wouldn't really have much of a choice. If you want to play PLO, you pretty much have to play at this particular casino on this particular day. But, if you're in places such as Southern California like me, or maybe you're in Houston, or a couple spots on the East Coast, I know like Philly and Maryland have pretty good PLO contingencies. I would recommend finding a good table. Now, what's a good table? Usually people are going to be very communicative, they're going to be straddling, they're going to be drinking, having a good time. If you show up, everyone's got headphones on, everyone looks like they're depressed, like they've been waiting in line at the DMV for a couple hours of the day, then that's probably an indication it's not a great game. All right, guys, quick recap. So rule number 1 is tight is right. Most common league people have, especially when starting out, is playing way too many hands. So because of that, you're going to be playing pretty much aces, kings, your high rundowns, and that's going to make your decisions very, very easy. All right, guys, point number 2 was build a roll, play shorter sessions. So, maybe for you, if you've never played live poker before, maybe start out, with a couple hours, then you can kind of, bump it up a little bit as you feel more comfortably. But playing these shorter sessions is just going to allow you to build your bankroll. Point number 3 was take great notes. So you're taking great notes to be able to review yourself. You're also going to be able to, find your leaks from this, and you're going to be able to talk to others to be able to help you out with your game. Which leads me to point number 4, which again is have an accountability partner. If you don't have one, you really need to get one. So again, let me know if you don't. And last but not least was point number 5 is work on your mental game. So that could be as easy as just taking laps, taking breaks, maybe doing a little stretching. On your off day, just kind of doing things for yourself. And then of course the bonus tip was find a great game. So if you guys enjoyed it, let me know. Again, if you have any recommendations for future videos, definitely also let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.